We good, Ray?
Okay, Kevin, we're good.
All right. Good morning. I'd like to call the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order for April 23rd, 2020. We are proceeding pursuant to the governor's executive order in regards with the electronic notice. Roll call, please. Here.
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 Lynn, you're on mute, so make sure you put your audio on.
We read
Are
your
there
lips.
any conflict of interest statements from the board?
No, sir.
No, Mr. President.
No. Item 4, approval of minutes of the meeting of March 12th, 2020. I have reviewed the minutes and I'll entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, essential matters before the board. 4, perpetual pump station easements, Walnut Avenue, Jackson Avenue, Tapper Avenue, and Forest Avenue submitted for approval. Mr. Talon?
I'm here.
Mr. Margraf,
I'm
let's
here.
go to Mr. Button first.
All right, Mr. Button, city engineer, would you like to comment on these?
Yes, board, thank you so much for meeting today. This is an action that needs approval by the board as a result of access agreements that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission need in order to firm up the certification of the levee. So these are 4 pump station agreements on property owned by the city of Hammond that are pump stations that are constructed, sanitary district pump stations that are constructed on them. They're combined sewer overflow stations at the 4 locations: Forest, Tapper, Jackson, and Walnut. So it's property owned by the city that requires a Board of Works action to agree to allow the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission access to the pump stations upon notice. There are, I believe, 9 other agreements that will be going to the sanitary district in a similar way for their approval. There was some concern about access, just random access by the Little Cal and the Army Corps, and so there was modifications to the language to include notification prior to accessing. So they're going to notify the sanitary district before they want access. This is really kind of a formality. It is a requirement as part of the certification. It does help the Little Calumet River with their match participation, which they have struggled to meet the local match level in terms of financial commitment. And so this is a way to kind of help them with a local match portion to the federal Army Corps levee project. If these easements are not approved, it puts the city at risk to decertifying the levee as a threat by the Corps. So I would turn it over to Mr. Talon or Mr. Smith if they had anything further to add to my comments.
This is, yes, Mr. President, if I can go before Phil does.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, so in these easements, the grantor is the city of Hammond, and so the Little Cal River Basin Commission would actually be asking the city of Hammond for these 4 easements permission to access those pump stations. Also, the exact language within the easement reads grantee, which is the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission will make a reasonable effort to contact grantor, which in this case is the city of Hammond, prior to accessing grantor's property, the property being the pump station. So I want to just mention that clearly as to who the grantor and the grantee is regarding these easements. Of course, the Park Department, I believe, has one, and the sanitary district, I believe, has another 9, I think is what Dean said. So with that, though, I want to turn it over to Phil Talon, because as chief of staff, he met with the executive director of the commission and had the discussion that resulted in this language.
Thanks, Kevin. Yes, I concur with everything both Dean and Kevin just explained. We've been working with the Little River Basin Commission and Dan Repe in particular to try and get these documents in place and in front of you today. It's important for a lot of different reasons that they just kind of explained. And other than the fact that I know Munster also has approved the same easements already, that action has been taken that was needed on their behalf. I just want to say that it's been working with Dan Repe has been great. He's actually changed the language in a couple areas when we asked him to, based on what we needed from the city of Hammond. And other than that, I hope you guys will entertain the approval of these documents.
Mr. Smith, one question from, is this need to be reviewed by the law department, or that's been done already for the city?
It has been done. I've reviewed them, and I've been in communication with both Dean from an engineering perspective, and also with Phil as from the administration. I would note, and I'd probably ask Dean to weigh in here, I believe that he has heard from Marty over at Sanitary District that they are okay with this language as well.
So
Mr. Button, anything further or no?
I don't have, well, I have not heard from Marty, Kevin, so I don't have a comment back on that. I would say that the park department matter we have to talk about, because it wasn't a pump station that was part of the levee project. It was the one by Dowling Park, and it was never part of the levee improvement project, and that's why I asked for that one.
All right, so okay, thanks, Dean. I guess then, Mr. President, what I would say, just to modify my comments, is the park department issue is separate from the one before the Board of Works today. It's just the 4 pump stations that are city-owned, and if the sanitary district, it's my understanding that they're okay with this language, and they're going to have to pass their own easements. As far as I'm concerned, this gives me, enough comfort. However, as you know, it's just they're before the city just because this is city-owned property. The pump stations are operated, of course, by the sanitary district, but because this is on city-owned property, that's why they're properly before this board.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the board?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I mean, I'll entertain a motion to seek approval of the easement agreements.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
I second, Mr. President.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 6, matters from board members. Either one have anything to add?
No, sir.
No, Mr. President.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll
Mr.
make that
President,
motion.
I'm sorry, Jeff. There's one other matter. I noticed there weren't anything from department heads on the agenda, but I'd request a moment if I could, Mr. President.
Absolutely.
There was a matter brought to my attention by the IT department through Mr. Campbell, who I believe is on the line. It has to do with an essential purchase for some server, auxiliary server type equipment to allow for cooling and things like that of servers at I believe the 911. I know he's working with the controller to get some information regarding a line item where it would come out of. So
Yeah.
I would request, if Mr. Campbell would like it, to be approved, conditioned upon the law department receiving, or the Board of Works, staff and the law department receiving a recommendation from him for approval, as well as proper funding through the controller's office, because I do believe it is something that he needs to get back to the folks at 911. But I'd allow him to, if he could, as a department head, speak to that as well. I think he's on the line.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Good morning. Yeah, so what has happened is at our operations center where all the servers and data and everything is stored for the city, the air conditioning has failed. And we have a quote to replace that air conditioning so that the room doesn't get super hot and basically destroy all the equipment. And that's what I would like to get approved, the quote for replacement of that. I don't have the exact line item, but controller is aware and the money has been allotted.
So Mr. Smith, we can approve this subject to the funding source?
Yeah, and also just subject to Mr. Campbell sending something up to the Law Department and the Board of Public Works to Lynn, just basically stating what he just did. I think it sounds to me to be an essential item.
I agree. Mr. Long, can you put that in a motion?
All of that again, we're waiting for a funding source, and then the price has to be presented to the law office and to the Board of Works.
As well as, yeah, the correspondence needs to come up from Mr. Campbell, the department head, to the board for approval.
Okay, then I'll motion that we approve it pending the funding source, and also that a quote be taken to the law office and presented to the Board of Works.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anything further from anyone? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.